Hi! Today on Cinefilm Recaps, we'll discuss the 2018 Japanese supernatural horror movie It Comes. A child named Hideki Tahara recalls his past in the first scene. The girl tells them that something will summon him since he's a liar as she shows them injuries on her wrists and legs and claims something pulled her as she slept when they are seated under a tree in the forest. Which makes Hideki anxious at the moment, when Hideki is getting ready for the ritual suggested by an unidentified woman over the phone to drive away an evil presence. The story of the movie is set in the past, when Hideki and his wife Kana Tahara visit their home to mark the anniversary of his grandfather's passing. After dinner, Kana Hideki and his parents went through Hideki's childhood pictures, and Hideki's mother was pleased to see her daughter-in-law. While this is going on, his mother asks about his boyhood friend, but Hiraki is unwilling to answer. He then dreams of being with a sick grandfather when a knock comes at the door and he receives a call. He awakens in terror, looks for his wife, and discovers her smoking cigarettes outside. After spending some time together, the scene switches to Hideki's wedding to Kana. Their friends show where they originally met and enthusiastically celebrate their wedding. After a few months, Kana announces her pregnancy, and Hiki's joy and enthusiasm become excessive. He then begins writing a daily blog about Crybaby's father alongside Hideki. His mother is overjoyed to hear the news and sends him an amulet and rune for the baby. Since then he's done everything to be the perfect parent, including purchasing a new home. Hideki also organizes a housewarming party to commemorate his recently purchased home and unborn baby. The next day at work, Hideki's coworker Takanashi notifies them that someone has come to meet with them to talk Chiza. They both hurry downstairs to meet the visitor, but no one is there. Takanashi suddenly begins to bleed from his shoulder and is rushed to the hospital. Everyone in the office is surprised, and even the doctor believes it isn't a huge thing. A few months later, Kana gives birth to a baby girl, whom she names Chisa. Hideki tells the good news in his office, and everyone congratulates him. He also goes to the hospital, where Takanashi is being treated in one of the facility's gloomy rooms. Takanashi appears grave and reports that something is running through his wound. Hideki and Kana continue to enjoy a happy life as time passes, but Hideki can't stop thinking about the ghost that keeps calling him. One night, Chiza awakens and tells her father that the spirit is calling her and wants to take her away. Hideki is scared when she hears this and hugs her closely. At the same moment, we notice blood flowing from their window. Since then, the spirit has frequently plagued their home. The phone rings as Hideki answers it, and someone offers to take his wife and daughter with him to the mountains. Terrified, Hideki throws the phone away. One evening as he is returning home, he hears his wife and daughter sobbing. He rushes to where they are hiding in one of the corners of the house. The next day, Hideki goes to see Suda and Nozaki, paranormal activity experts, and tells them all that has transpired to him and his family. He also lets them know about Takanashi, who passed away after spending a year in the hospital. He received a peculiar bite on his shoulder after that Suda and Nozaki took, according to the doctor. When he arrives home later that night, Hideki bursts out because she is nasty to him despite the fact that he knows how to handle situations like his. When Suda and Hideki are sitting outside in the playground, he discovers Suda and Nozaki playing with his daughter, apologizes for her cruel behavior, and agrees to assist him. The next morning, Suda receives a call notifying him that it has come. As soon as they hear this, they race to the house and discover Nozaki laboring hard to keep the spirited away. After a brief period of chaos, everything quickly returns to normal. Shortly thereafter, Makoto receives a call from his sister and chats with Hideki, who claims that something horrible is nearby, but she cannot stop it. When she realizes that the worms in the garden are what the helpers are calling for, she asks Hiraki to burn them all. Because she can't get to Hiraki's house right away because she has other pressing cases to address, she hires a friend instead. Suda and Hideki then travel to a restaurant to meet the acquaintance. While they are eating, Hideki gets a call from the same ghost who is speaking from the other side. He later learns that this spirit speaks using the sounds of other persons. The evil ghost cuts off the acquaintance's hand after hearing noises from his deceased grandma, Chisa, and others. A short while later, Hideki also discovers the blood-stained hand in the window. Despite the injuries, everyone in the restaurant, including Hideki, gets afraid. An acquaintance then tells Hideki that his wife is in danger, and Hideki immediately takes a cab and goes home. He contacts his wife to tell her to leave the house as soon as possible while on the way, and just then, Makoto's sister calls to warn him not to meet with his family because they have a great desire to pursue him, which could put them in danger. Later, after Makoto's sister has gone to bed, she convinces him to come back by promising to help him. As in the opening scene, Hideki arrives home. His window is shut, places the bowls in the hallway, adds water to them, and wraps up any sharp objects before hiding them in a drawer. He then breaks every mirror in the house, opens the door, and waits for the ghost to arrive. After finishing the setup, he gets a message from Makoto's sister telling him to leave the house as soon as possible. She also asserts that what he did earlier was a setup, and asks them to stay in front of the mirror or get some pointed things because she hates being in front of mirrors and pointed objects. Following this, Hideki realizes that the person giving him instructions on the phone is actually speaking in Makoto's sister's voice as it approaches the door, but it's too late for him to do anything about it. He quickly shuts the door, but it's ineffective. He suddenly realizes that it is the same girl from his childhood who claimed it would call him. He also recalls her name is Chiza, and a few moments later he is slain. 1 year later, Kana returns to her previous job. She finds parenting her kid alone to be a burden. Kana is unable to rely on her mother, and her in-laws have even cut her off, so she begins to vent her anger on Chiza. She also claimed that Hideki's death made her pleased because she didn't agree with some of his actions. Hideki used to stand motionless and unconcerned when Chiza was harmed and began bleeding, and he used to accuse Kana of being the daughter of a bad mother because Kana's mother is mentally impaired. She also acknowledges that because she was already dating Suda, she had given up on Hideki before he passed away. Currently, Nozaki visits Kana and tells her that Makoto is feeling bad over Hideki's passing and that Kana's family is still being attacked. Kana was also revealed to have caused all of the mayhem in the past due to her frustration, so Nozaki constructs a salt-filled fortress to keep the horrors at bay. However, as soon as he departs, Kana smashes the dish while wearing a wicked grin. One night, Khan had a dream about the headmistress of Chiza's playschool berating her for stepping on his grandchild. Despite hearing that, she chooses not to correct her and instead purchases a new pair of shoes for Kana. She remarks that Kana chose the same shoes as her sisters, but when Kana opens her pocketbook, she discovers the same worms and becomes frightened. 3 days later, Kana makes the decision to leave everything behind and live her life as she pleases. She dons makeup and meets Suda before departing. When Makoto gets there, she invites him to stay with Chiza. Nozaki calls Makoto as she is playing with Chiza and asks that the living room's Buddhist altar be burned because it is from it. Once Kana burns the Buddhist altar, Nozaki also reveals that it is inside Suda's body. Makoto feels the ghost, but after a while she can't find Shisa. She investigates the rooms, but she can't find her. Then she spots Hideki's ghost moving towards one of the rooms. When Makoto enters the same room quickly, she finds Chiza dozing off. Shiza tells her that her father has requested that she go with him. Suda and Kana engage in personal moments in the meantime. Later that night, when we see the symbol on Suda's back, while Krishna and Makoto are conversing and Jesus is sleeping, the spirit of Jesus enters Jesus' body and starts communicating to them. Makoto rushes and grabs Chiza, sending the spirit running into the garden. She then jumps in, shuts the door, and gives her life to save Chiza and Kana. After this, Kana and Cheja run away and walk into a restaurant to eat. Kana then realizes her mistake and apologizes to Chesa. When they finish their meal, they use the loo, where they are attacked by the ghost of Kana's mother. After the ghost kills Kana and kidnaps Chiza, Nozaki finds Makoto's damaged body at her house and transports her to the hospital, where Makoto's sister, Higa Katoko, shows up and presents herself. She declares that she will be in charge of this case and that she will see to it that it is settled as she blows some smoke from the cigarette to awakening Makoto and gives her to Nozaki. After that, Nozaki plays a drunken visitor to Suda in the next scene. Suda acknowledges that he took his wife because he had always intended to steal from Hideki. Additionally, he charges Nozaki with killing Hiraki, which caused Ozaki to escape. When Nozaki arrives back at the hospital, Koto tells the kids that Makoto disappeared an hour ago. Makoto notices the spirits of the kids around him in the hospital. After hearing this, Nozaki seems concerned while Kotoko remains serene. She also asserts that Jesus' body and mind are not existent in this world. She then seeks his assistance in cleaning Hideki's house so that she might summon the spirit and end the chapter. Nozaki agrees with one condition: Makoto must return. The next day, when all of the tenants of Hiraki's flat have been evacuated, Nozaki enters the building and presents the card that Kotoko gave him. There, he encounters the same acquaintance who has a cut hand, speaking with Hideki's soul just after she carries out a ceremony that drives the spirit away. Later, when the exorcism preparations get underway, Nozaki is startled by a call from the spirits of Suda and Mako. At that moment, Kotomoku shows up and asks. She instructs him to please it as much as possible and treat it as if he were God, saying that sharp objects should be kept away from it because it hates them. After some time, Makoto's soul reaches Nozaki and begs him to protect her and the child she is carrying, Shiza. At that point, the ritual will start. Following that, he rushes towards Kotoko and is knocked unconscious. When he wakes up, he witnesses Mako puking blood and falling asleep. Koto says that Cheese has a stronger bond with it than she does, so she chooses to put Chiza in a different world. The candles finally burn out and it gets dark, causing the ritualists to start throwing up blood, but the acquaintance stays within the house that Nozaki has enclosed after she interrupts him and stabs Kotoko with the knife. She starts to scream in Chiza's body as the building starts to flood with blood, but Chiza stops her from leaving. When Kotoko begs Nozaki to release the infant, he declines. So she instructs them to tighten their hold on the infant and pushes him, sending Nozaki and the child flying off the balcony. She then gives the order for Matoka to depart, endangering her own life, and a huge gush of blood puts a stop to it all. After everything has ended, we see Nozaki and Makoto sitting on a seat outside with Chiza on her lap. When Nozaki regains consciousness, the baby is sitting and smiling at him. Thank you so much for watching.